There is something unsettlingly poignant about the latest photos of people who once inspired generations. These images are moments before silence, the last shots of legends who have left an indelible mark on history. Today, we're going to show you their last photos and tell you what happened next. Hours before the tragic event, on December 8, 1980, John Lennon stopped by his New York City apartment complex to leave an autograph for a fan named Mark David Chapman. The musician had a friendly smile on his face as he posed for a photo and signed the album Double Fantasy. No one could have guessed that later that evening, as Lennon was returning home with Yoko Ono, the very same fan would fatally wound him at the entrance to the Dakota building. This latest image of Princess Diana was taken just minutes before the fatal accident. The footage shows her leaving the Ritz Hotel in Paris with her companion Dodi Al-Fayed, pursued by paparazzi on motorcycles. The car soon crashes at high speed into the Pont de l'Alma tunnel, support on August 31, 1997. The crash will kill Diana, Fayed, and their driver, changing the history of the British monarchy forever. This final photograph, taken in a Munich hotel, shows a haggard Bob Marley undergoing alternative cancer treatment. His frail figure and gaunt face were a stark contrast to the charismatic stage personality adored by millions. After unsuccessful attempts to fight an aggressive form of melanoma that had spread to his brain and lungs, the legendary musician died on May 11, 1981 in Miami, leaving the world his immortal reggae legacy. A carefree family dinner in Rome. That's how James Gandolfini's last night will remain in history. In the photo, the actor, famous for his role as Tony Soprano, enjoys a meal with his son during an Italian vacation. The day was filled with walking around the ancient city and sightseeing. No one suspected that hours later, on June 19, 2013, Gandolfini would suddenly collapse in his hotel room, falling victim to an acute heart attack at the age of 51. There's a grainy amateur photo of Kurt Cobain outside his Seattle home. He's wearing a heavy coat and looks lost and immersed in thought. The pic was snapped just a few days before the Nirvana frontman went missing. On April 8, 1994, his body was found in his garage with a self-inflicted gunshot wound, ending the short but illustrious career of the musician who became the voice of a generation. One of the last photos of Heath Ledger shows him on the set of The Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus. Parnassus, exhausted but focused on work. Colleagues in the movie later recalled how exhausted and sleep-deprived the actor looked in those days. After a phenomenal transformation in the Joker for the film The Dark Knight, January 22, 2008, Ledger was found without signs of life in his New York apartment. The cause of death of the 28-year-old actor was an accidental overdose of medication prescribed by doctors. One of his last photos shows Steve Jobs walking slowly outside his Palo Alto home, wearing his traditional black sweater and jeans, but with a frighteningly thinning figure and droopy face. Just 2 months earlier, he had officially stepped down as Apple's CEO. On October 5, 2011, at the age of 56, the visionary and technological genius passed away after a years-long battle with a rare form of pancreatic cancer, leaving an indelible mark on the history of the digital revolution. Whitney Houston was caught in the camera lenses as she left the Grammy pre-party at the Beverly Hilton Hotel on February 9, 2012. Her hair was damp, her gaze heavy and tired. No one could have guessed that just 2 days later, the legendary singer would be found breathless in the bathtub of her hotel room. The cause of death was accidental drowning, complicated by heart failure and cocaine use, tragically ending the life of the owner of one of the most recognizable voices in music history. This photo captures Tupac in the passenger seat of a black BMW in Las Vegas on the evening of September 7, 1996. Dressed in a black vest and gold jewelry, the rapper has just left a Mike Tyson boxing match. Shortly thereafter, a white Cadillac would align with their car, and gunfire would be fired. 6 days later, Tupac would die in the hospital from multiple gunshot wounds. His murder, like the death of notorious B.I.G., is still officially unsolved, remaining one of the darkest legends of hip-hop culture. Robin Williams was last seen at an art gallery in the San Francisco Bay Area, chatting casually with the staff a few days before his death. Despite his noticeable thinness, he seemed cheerful. Behind that mask lurked a heavy internal struggle. On August 11, 2014, the brilliant comedian passed away by suicide after an agonizing battle with a severe form of dementia, which was later diagnosed as diffuse Lewy body disease. One of the last pictures of Freddie Mercury was taken in the backyard of his home in London's Kensington in 1991. Despite his visibly emaciated appearance, he managed to give the camera a smile while standing among flowers surrounded by his favorite cats. On November 24, 1991, the lead singer of Queen died of AIDS-related bronchial pneumonia just 1 day after publicly confirming his diagnosis, ending the era of one of the greatest frontmen in rock history. Ayrton Senna was photographed in his race car on May 1, 1994, during the San Marino Grand Prix in Imola. No one could have guessed that for the three-time Formula One champion, this race would be his last. On the 7th lap of his car suddenly went off the track and at a great speed crashed into a concrete wall. A few hours later, the great Brazilian driver would be officially pronounced dead due to a fatal head injury, plunging the world of motorsport into deep mourning. The last photo of Marilyn Monroe was taken at the Cal Neva Lodge Resort Complex in Lake Tahoe just days before her death. In the photo, she poses next to jazz pianist Buddy Greco, looking cheerful and collected. On August 5, 1962, the 36-year-old movie diva would be found dead in her Los Angeles home. The cause of death would be an overdose of barbiturates, officially classified as a probable suicide, although the circumstances of her passing would spawn many conspiracy theories. Michael Jackson was pictured during a rehearsal on stage at the Staples Center in Los Angeles on June 24, 2009. He was preparing for his highly anticipated This Is It concert tour, showing signs of excitement and extreme exhaustion at the same time. The next day, the king of pop would die of cardiac arrest caused by acute propofol intoxication. The death of the 50-year-old artist shocked the whole world, leaving an indelible mark in the history of popular culture. Muhammad Ali was captured on May 22, 2016, during a FaceTime video call with his daughter Hannah. The screen shows the once greatest boxer of all time, silent and visibly weakened by years of battling Parkinson's disease. Days later, he would be hospitalized with respiratory problems, and on June 3, 2016, the legendary athlete would pass away from septic shock surrounded by his family, ending the journey of a man who changed not only the sport, but also the public consciousness. This last photograph of Charlie Chaplin was taken at his Swiss estate, where the great comedian spent his final years away from the hustle and bustle of Hollywood. Although his physical frailty is evident in the photograph, The dignity of the movie legend who changed the language of cinema was still evident in his appearance. Chaplin passed away peacefully in his sleep on Christmas Day, 1977, having lived 88 years and leaving an indelible mark on the history of world art. Biggie is pictured in a beige suit at the Soul Train Music Awards after party on March 8, 1997. Just hours later, while sitting in an SUV stopped at a red light in Los Angeles, he would be shot multiple times by an unknown gunman. The rapper would die in the hospital shortly thereafter, and his murder, like Tupac's, would remain unsolved, becoming a dark chapter in the history of East Coast versus West Coast rivalry in American hip-hop culture. Prince was last seen on surveillance footage entering his doctor's office on April 20th, 2016. Dressed in all black, he moved slowly, presumably seeking relief from chronic pain symptoms. The next day, the legendary musician would be found unconscious in the elevator of his Paisley Park estate. The cause of death would be an accidental overdose of the potent opioid fentanyl, which came as a shock to millions of fans around the world. The last photo of Elvis Presley was taken in the early morning hours of August 16, 1977, at the gates of Graceland as he was returning home after a late visit to the dentist. In the photo, it is noticeable that the king of rock and roll was in his distinctive tracksuit, looking swollen but maintaining mental clarity. Later that day, he would pass out in the bathroom of his estate and be pronounced dead of a heart attack at the age of just 42, ending an era that changed the music industry forever. Chester Bennington was captured smiling in a photo posted by his wife on July 19, 2017, just a day before his death. In the photo, he is surrounded by his family, and there is nothing to indicate an internal crisis. On July 20th, the Linkin Park frontman would commit suicide at his home in California, leaving millions of fans in shock and grief, and once again raising questions about the hidden nature of depression and mental illness. In one of his final portraits, Mark Twain is shown pensive in his home. The writer looks aged, his famous white suit slightly wrinkled. By this time, his health was rapidly deteriorating after the loss of several close family members. Twain died of a heart attack on April 21, 1910, which surprisingly coincided with his own prediction, to pass away with the return of Halley's Comet, the same one that lit up the sky in the year of his birth. Every legend has had its last shot, and behind each one is a story we carry in our hearts. If even one of them touched you, tell the world about it. Give a like, comment, or share the video with your friends.